We're holding in Sefer Mishlei, Perek Daled, Pasuk Aleph, in the very beginning of the chapter. As I mentioned last week, Shlomo Melech repeats certain ideas and concepts. Nevertheless, every time he says something, it's not just a repetition. He's attempting to convey an additional point from a different angle, and for further emphasis as well. And there's additional advice and there's additional information in every word that is being said. He begins chapter 4 with the following words: Shim'u banim musar av ve'akshivu lada'at bina. Even though he's already spoken about the importance of musar, even though he's already spoken about the relationship of a father with the son, somewhat, he will eventually talk about that more at length. Here, he's not necessarily speaking about the musar, or the teaching, the rebuke of a father to a son. He's talking about the teachings and the musar of our Father in heaven. Av, therefore, meaning here, according to some commentaries, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And at this stage, he's not only addressing everyone in general, but children, the early childhood. Shim'u bani musar av, therefore, he emphasizes to all of us, listen carefully to what Hashem has to say, because after all that I have been saying to you now, and all that I'm about to say, really comes from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. This is not the musar of a human being. These are teachings that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has given to us. Ve'akshivu lada'at bina, and pay close attention, and you will receive understanding. What do you mean by paying close attention? In the very beginning, when one begins to learn any subject, it may be a little bit difficult to grasp. It is difficult for children and for anybody who's a beginner. The Torah is not easy, but neither is it something like the Torah says, Lo b'shamayim hini. It's not something so difficult that it's in the heaven. It's very difficult to get a hold of, to learn. But it does take time, and therefore it takes ve'akshivu. Ve'akshivu is much more than lishma, to listen. It means to be attentive, drop by drop. You may recall the story with Rabbi Akiva. When he was 40 years old, it just occurred to him that he can begin to learn now. 40 years old, to begin Aleph Bet from scratch, very difficult. The older you are, the more difficult it is. Nevertheless, how was he convinced that he could begin? He sat next to a rock, a big rock, and he noticed how there was drops of water falling on the rock. Just little drops, every little drop does not have too much power. But he noticed how from all the drops, the rock has been fashioned out. Over time, the little bit of water, the few drops, were able to fashion out the rock. They were able to make a hole, a dent in the rock. And he came to the conclusion, if water which is so soft, but give it some time and give it continuity, that it was continuous drops, it could penetrate something as hard as a rock, then the more so the Torah, which is compared to water, will be able to penetrate my head, which is as hard as a rock. So Rabbi Akiva began at age 40 to go to school, sat with the little children, until he grew to be a tremendous Talmid Chacham, a great rabbi, leader of the generation, as we know him to be, as we've heard about him. And all of that through lehakshiv. He paid close attention, word by word, drop by drop, until it eventually sank in. And that is what's necessary to be able to grasp the Torah. It doesn't happen overnight. You just don't learn it. It's not a crash course, as they say. It's something that takes time and requires ve'akshivu, to acquire good understanding. From the learning of the Torah, the commentaries say one will acquire two things. He will acquire musar av, and he will acquire lada'at bina. Musar av are the ethics, the good midot, the behavior, the proper mannerisms. That is what one can receive from the Torah, as well as lada'at bina. His mind will be sharpened. Jews have always been known to be sharp. Where does that sharpness come from? Because they've been occupied in the study, in the analysis of Torah. So the Torah not only imparted on them the knowledge, not only showed them the right way and the right midot, but also it sharpens the mind. So that is a direct result of the close attention and continuous learning of the Torah. He goes on to say, the next pasuk, Ki lekach tov natati lachem torati al ta'azovu. This is a very famous pasuk that is quoted many times. The Kadosh Baruch Hu, in speaking to us, reminds us that this is a good merchandise that I gave you. It's the best merchandise in the world. It's a lekach tov. It's a good acquisition. It is something worthwhile your time to pursue. And who is telling this to us? Hashem, nobody else. Hashem is telling this to us, that it's a lekach tov. And therefore, since He is testifying, it's worth our time to pursue this. And torati al ta'azovu. And once you've acquired it, once you have it in your hands, don't let go of it. Why does He call it something good? What is good? So we've explained in the past, something which is good, in Hashem's terminology, means something which is complete, something which is perfect. Because in human terms, what is good for me may not be good for you. Because good in human terms is something relative. What is the ultimate good? What Hashem says is good. When Hashem created the world, He says about just about anything that He created, this is good. Hashem saw that everything was good. Why does He have to tell us, this is good? What difference does it make? And that is to remind us that everything that Hashem made in the world has a purpose, even the small ants, even the termites, and the cockroaches. They're all good, they all have a purpose. That's why they were created. So anytime Hashem says something is good, it means that it's perfect, it has a purpose, it serves some purpose. So Ki lekach tov, this Torah serves a purpose, it's something complete, and as a result of it being complete and perfect, one who occupies himself with this Torah will be able to perfect himself and elevate himself to the greatest heights possible. Something which is not possible through any other, the meditation, right? In any other practices that the Eastern religions have. This is the only lekach tov that one can accomplish. The midot tovot, refining one's character, plus gaining the knowledge, the chokhmah of Hashem. Another reason why He says Ki lekach tov, Hashem is reminding us, this is something good for you. This is not a burden. Many people look at Judaism as an ol. It is a burden, it's a machbid, it makes life difficult, it limits us. But as we've explained in the past, the Torah does not limit us. On the contrary, it liberates us. If one follows the Torah properly, he will find himself liberating himself or releasing himself from many of the travails in life, including the mazal. What is the mazal? Mazal is the destiny or fate that every individual has from the moment of birth. That mazal, in a sense, limits him or puts him in chains. You cannot do anything you would like to do. No matter how many degrees you get in college, no matter how many hours you work a day, if your mazal is not to be rich, you'll never be rich. No matter what you do. If your mazal is to be rich, then even if you don't know how to write your name, you're going to be rich. You're going to find the money in the street. Somebody's going to give it. It's going to happen one way or another. Mazal puts all of us in a certain structure, and we can't get out of it, except for if we do teshuvah, tefillah, tzedakah. These three that Am Yisrael has, we have a special relationship with Hashem that allows us to release ourselves from this mazal, even from something as difficult as a mazal. And that is why the rabbis tell us, Yisrael me'ala mazal, we are above the mazal. Doesn't mean we don't have one, we have one, but we can change it. So the Torah is not limiting, it does not make life difficult. On the contrary, it frees us, it releases us. We're bnei horin, we're free men as a result of having the Torah, as long as we fulfill the Torah. This week's parasha, we're going to be learning about Shemitah in Parashat Behar. An incredible phenomenon, an incredible way, an incredible testimony that the Torah was given in Hashemayim. Who else would make such a promise that if you keep the 7th year, you will be blessed with 3 years of crop? After all, if you don't work a whole year, how will you have food? Hashem says, don't worry, I promise I will give you for the 6th, for the 7th, and for the 8th. 3 years! Am Yisrael was able to see this come true so many times. Proof that Torah is min Hashemayim. Moshe would never have made such a promise. Just imagine if 1 year this would not come true. They would have given this up. This is not true, they would have said. Chaz v'shalom. As long as they kept the Shemitah, they saw the blessing of the Shemitah. They saw that Torah was given in Hashemayim. So the Torah is intended to free us. It's intended to be a benefit for us, not a way of making life difficult and miserable, as some people say it is. He emphasizes Torati al ta'azovu. Once you have it, be careful not to let go of it. That is an emphasis for Kviut Tim La Torah, for one to set aside time to learn Torah every single day. Because if you let go of it one day, as we will eventually see, little by little you forget it. It's very difficult to make up a day that is lost. So therefore, don't let go of it. Don't exchange it for anything else. And unfortunately, there are too many people today who are exchanging a shiur of Torah during the evening for a soap opera, for a movie, for reading the news in the paper or on the internet. That's what they're doing. Torati al tazovu means don't exchange it for something else. What are you going to exchange? What is worth more than this that you can exchange it for? Therefore, don't lose touch with her after you've acquired it. There's a lot of people who've gone to yeshiva, who've learned many years, and after they finished yeshiva, they let go of it completely. And they succeeded in yeshiva. They learned a lot. They were geniuses. They accomplished a lot. But somehow, their father-in-law put them into the business, and they let go of the Torah altogether. Torati al tazovu, he says, be careful not to let go of the Torah. But there's a very important point here. An additional important point that the rabbis tell us. Hashem says, I wouldn't have minded as much if Am Yisrael left me, but would not have left my Torah. You know what that means? That's a very powerful statement. Hashem says, I would not have minded so much if the Jewish people would have left me, meaning that they would have not observed all the mitzvot, but at least they would have learned my Torah. Why? Ki ha'ma'or sheba tahzir otam lemutav. Because the light of the Torah will eventually bring them back. In other words, if a Jew lets go of everything, doesn't keep Shabbat, doesn't eat kosher, and so forth, but he learns Torah, eventually at some point the light in the Torah will bring him back. And the same thing is with the Shabbat. If one would keep Shabbat, the Midrash says, Hashem says, even if he worships idols, but he keeps Shabbat, I forgive him. How could that be? Because Hashem says, I am confident if this Jew keeps Shabbat. Shabbat is a contradiction to idols. I know that Shabbat will bring him back. And that is why we tell Balei Teshuvah, those who are becoming stronger, start off with Shabbat. If it's a man, obviously start putting on tefillin, do whatever you can immediately, what's easy for you. But if once they become serious and they want to commit themselves to more, we tell them obviously to begin with the Shabbat. Shabbat is our link. מה רצית להגיד? No, I didn't say that if he doesn't keep anything at all whatsoever, how could he sit and learn? Obviously he wouldn't sit and learn either. But what it means is Hashem says, even if they would not be so close to me, in other words, they wouldn't keep many mitzvot, but they would sit down and learn some Torah, they would come to a shiur, they would not show disrespect for the Torah. They would listen, they would be willing to listen to the Torah. The Torah has that potential of bringing them back. So that's a good beginning, in other words. Let these individuals who are so distant come and listen to a shiur, hear a tape of Torah. The light of the Torah will eventually bring them back. So that's why Hashem says, Torati al ta'azovu, don't let go of it. I wish I would have preferred you let go of me, Hashem says, as the rabbis mentioned it in the Yerushalmi, but don't let go of my Torah. Because the Torah has light in it that can bring back even those who are very distant. He goes on to say, Kiven hayiti le'avi. Shlomo Melech says, for I was my father's son, Rach v'yachid lifnei imi, tender and the only one in the sight of my mother. In other words, I was young and tender. I was a child once too. Shlomo Melech is saying that. Why is he telling us this? Because many people say, don't make it hard for children. Right? We're talking a lot now about children. Don't make it hard for them. Eventually they'll learn. Don't give them so much to learn right now. It will be too difficult for them. Obviously you can't give them too much. But Shlomo Melech says, I was also once young and tender, and on the contrary, it didn't harm me, it did only good to me. Look what has happened. In other words, he's pointing to himself. I went through this too. So don't ever think that it's too much for a child. He's having to go through secular studies, he has to learn math and history and literature and all these things, and he has to learn Gemara and Chumash and Halakha and Tanakh and all this. How much? The rabbis do tell us, of course, not to overdo it depending on the age. We have to know how much to give a child depending on his own abilities. But it doesn't mean that you shouldn't give him at all just because he's a child. Shlomo says, I was once a child too, and I can tell you those were the best years. Why? Because whatever you give a child will always remain with him for the rest of his life. So don't use that excuse not to give a child. He's only a child. What do you want from him? No. By the way, it's our responsibility as parents or as Jews. If we see a child doing an avera, even though he's under the age of bar mitzvah, we still have to pull him away from the avera. No, he's only a child. Never say that. It's important what the child sees, what the child learns while he's a young boy. He's very impressed by what he sees and hears. And that is the time to give as much as possible to him. And not, our attitude should not be, he's tender and young, and we shouldn't have to be so hard on him. What he says by these words is that it's true that when one is younger, one is tender, that it's not as easy, it's difficult. As they say in Hebrew, kol ha'atchalot kashot, all the beginnings are difficult. But eventually, one is able to overcome those difficulties. It doesn't mean just because it's difficult, you'll never be able to do it. Everything is difficult when you first start. But eventually, you will be able to overcome any difficulty. Next pasuk. Vayoreni, vayomeli, yitmoch devarai libecha, shemor mitzvotai v'chiyeh. He taught me also, I'm translating from the English here, and he said to me, let your heart retain my words, keep my commandments, and live. The commentaries explain that if Hashem taught us this, it must be precious, because we are precious to Him. Since we are precious to Him, since we mean so much to Him, would He give us something which is not precious? Would He just give us something which is unimportant? If we are precious to Him, then whatever He gives us must be precious too. Rabbis learn from this pasuk, the famous tradition that we have, that all this learning is taught to us when the baby is in the mother's womb. When the child is b'me'ayimo, when he's in the mother's womb, he's taught kol Torah kula. And right before he is born, right before he comes out, comes an angel and makes him forget everything. Remember that? Well, there was a story in Israel about 35 years ago, maybe 40 years ago, where a baby was born and he didn't forget. The angel forgot to slap him, to hit him a little bit on the lip. And he was able to remember everything. He knew everything. A baby, a child.
It was you.
No, it wasn't me. He remembered everything. He knew more than his own teacher. And when it came to the attention of a great rabbi in Israel, the rabbi prayed for him that he should forget everything. You know why? So there shouldn't be any ayn hara on him. He could have lost his life. He could have died prematurely because of an evil eye. Because of people seeing something like that. It was a tremendous Kiddush Hashem, obviously. It was a tremendous miracle. It was for us to observe something like that. But the wrong people looking at him, observing something like this, could have brought harm upon him. So the rabbi prayed. So today, this boy is a big Talmid Chacham. He's an avrech. He learns. He probably teaches. He's a rabbi. But he had to work the hard way, which is what we're supposed to do, is to learn the entire Torah on our own. They taught it to us, but now we have to do it on our own. But the question is, why do they teach us the Torah in the mother's womb? What's the purpose? If they're going to make us forget it anyway, then why teach it? Why make us forget it? So one of the blessings that we say when a child is circumcised is Shekidesh Yedid Mi Betin. Hashem sanctified the child from the mother's womb. He's already holy from the mother's womb. How? By teaching him the Torah. The Torah, all it is a tool to survive. We're going to be exposed to so much tum'ah, to so much between, to so much temptations from the Yetzer Hara throughout our life, that we need to have strength, we need to have the tools. And therefore Hashem gives us the tools in the mother's womb. He already prepares us. He already ingrains it in our neshama. The desire to want to learn Torah, the kiddush, the desire to go after that which is holy. So we are given the tools. We are therefore given the desire. And once a child is born, or I should say right before he is born, they remind him and they make him swear, be a tzaddik. Remember to be a tzaddik. Remember we taught you all this Torah. You're about to forget it, but you have to learn it on your own. And everybody is given the ability to be able to do so. So the need to teach him the Torah in the mother's womb is to give him the tools to be able for him to be able to survive in the real life. Another commentary brings down what the rabbis tell us in this pasuk, that whatever you learn in the Torah, observe. Don't start nitpicking this yes and this not. And the reason for that is because you do not know which mitzvah that you will perform will give you life. It just could be that one particular mitzvah that you will perform Because of that, and as a result of that, you will be able to live a long life. It will protect you. Because for the most part, the mitzvot, the sachar for the mitzvot, the reward for them is in olam ha'emet, in olam haba. But there are some that we receive some credit for them in this world, that they may protect us. So be careful what to choose. You don't know which mitzvah has more value, which one has less. They're all important. So whatever you learn, shemor, observe it, hold on to it. Rabbis also learn from this point that we have 248, the men have 248 limbs in the body. Women have a few more. And these limbs are keneged, they correspond to the mitzvot aseh, to the positive commandments in the Torah. So the rabbis tell us, each limb is crying out, observe me. So through me you will be able to live. Through me you will have this merit, this zechut to live. And according to the Kabbalah, every limb corresponds to a mitzvah in a different way. That every limb in the human body receives its life, its sustenance from the performance of one mitzvah. And if a mitzvah is not performed, a specific mitzvah is not performed, that limb that corresponds to it, whether it's the eye, whether it's the leg, or whether it's the hand, dies or becomes paralyzed, chas v'shalom. There's a reason for all that. When a person loses the function of a particular limb, is tied to some mitzvah. It's tied to some averah. And if it's not in this lifetime, and it could be in a previous lifetime, from previous Gilgul. There are no coincidences. En yesurim b'li avon. There's no such a thing as a person going through any pain and suffering unless there's some avon that weakens his body. So just like we want to have vitamins and eat the right food so our physical body should be strong and healthy, we need to perform the mitzvot so our spiritual body should be healthy. And in this way, even our physical body will be healthy. The next pasuk, K'nei chokhmah, k'nei vina, al tishkach, v'al tet mi'imrei fi. Get wisdom, acquire understanding, don't forget about it, and don't turn away from the words of my mouth. He says over here that chokhmah is not something that is just to be studied and learned in school. It's something that needs to be acquired. K'nei. When you acquire something, you make it a part of yourself. You apply it in real life. It's not enough to just learn. It's important to apply it. Why? Because that's the only way that we will not move away from these words. If we put the words that we learn to practice. So we need to acquire them, not just learn them. However, even when we acquire a lot of knowledge, rabbis tell us, Lo ha-midrash ikar ela ma'aseh. Don't forget, it's not the learning that's important, it's the ma'aseh. However, gadol ha-talmud shemevi lidei ma'aseh. Even though the learning is not the most important, it's the actual putting something to work, practicing it. Nevertheless, gadol ha-talmud shemevi lidei ma'aseh. Learning is important nevertheless because that is what leads one to do. If we would not learn, how will we know what to do? So even though learning is important, practice is more important. But learning is very important because it is what leads one to practice. Next pasuk. Al ta'azveha v'tishmereka, ehavea v'titzereka. Don't leave her, don't forsake her, and she will preserve you. Love her, and she will keep you. This is a very powerful point. The Torah has the strength, the ability to protect and to watch over us. There are two words here, tishmereka, and titzereka. Titzereka is much more powerful. And the rabbis learn from this, it's brought down in the Gemara, that the Torah is much more powerful than any mitzvah by itself. Ki Torah magna u'matzla. What that means is that Torah protects and saves. It protects one from all the puranut, from any major calamities in the world, any major disasters, any major troubles. One who learns the Torah, supports the Torah, has that protection surrounding. And it's matzla, it saves him or protects him from hata'im, from the Yetzer Hara. But the Gemara says the only time the Torah has the ability to do both, to protect and to save, is so long as one is studying the Torah. As soon as he walks out the door, the Torah is magna. The Torah, in other words, will continue to protect him from all sorts of troubles, but no longer matzlah, no longer save him from the Yetzer Hara. In other words, he can cool off from the Yetzer Hara while he's learning Torah. Once he steps out the Bet Midrash, no guarantee. But at least he has Magna, at least Torah Megina alav. She will protect him. Whereas the mitzvah does not have that same capability. A mitzvah is limited to a specific time. For example, mitzvah tzedakah, according to the Kabbalah, has protection for 1 week. You perform today tzedakah, you weren't cheap about it, not 50 cents. Real tzedakah, you really helped somebody. For an entire week, you have protection. Because the Kabbalah says there is a roshem on the metzach, on the head, on the forehead of an individual who did tzedakah, and that roshem, that impression lasts for 1 week. So no angel of a bad angel can cause him any harm.
It doesn't matter how much you give?
I told you, you can't give 50 cents. It has to be something significant that you really were able to help someone. That's called tzedakah. I mean, even though you fulfilled the mitzvah by giving a quarter too, it does not have the same clock as when you actually made a poor man feel good. You helped him out. You were really able to make a difference in his life. That mitzvah, of course, has much more power than just giving a quarter in the bushka, in the box.
Rabbi, how does the Torah provides a physical security? We leave this class tonight. Does it protect you to go home?
Of course.
Protect you tomorrow morning?
Yes, of course. It continuously protects you as long as you are continuous in your kviuti team, in your routine of learning every week. Then it's almost indefinite.
Just coming to one class, for example, in other words, that will give you that protection?
Yeah, but it's all relative, obviously. If a person learns 1 hour a week, if a person learns 10 hours every day, obviously there are different levels of protection, and we don't really know how the levels work. But we do know that protection is continuous, at least at a certain level it is. Next pasuk. Rashit Chochmah Kineh Chochmah. The beginning of wisdom is get wisdom. Ubechol kinyanecha kineh vina. Therefore, use all your means to acquire understanding. Shlomo Melech is telling us, Rashit Chochmah Kineh Chochmah. The beginning is go ahead and do it. What does that mean? A lot of people talk about doing something and they don't end up doing it. Everything is mañana. They'll eventually do it. Rashit Chochmah, if you want to begin, just start right away. And the Kabbalah mentions something very, very powerful. That from time to time the neshama is inspired. The neshama, all of a sudden, an individual feels like he would love to do something. He would love to do a mitzvah. He's in a good mood. So the Kabbalah says, on that moment, go ahead and do something immediately, because those feelings of inspiration, those good feelings, may not come back so quickly. Somehow that neshama was awakened at that moment, and that is why she feels so excited to do something. All of a sudden, I want to help someone. You want to do something. It comes. For example, we have another tradition in the Kabbalah that on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, if one begins to cry, all of a sudden out of the blue he sheds tears. It is a siman, an indication that at that moment they're judging him in heaven. His neshama is being judged at that second. So the neshama is steered, is moved at certain times. And if it's moved to do something good, take advantage of that moment, of that special moment, and go ahead and do the mitzvah at that moment. So the same over here, begin to learn one pasuk. A lot of times, this is a very important point, a lot of times people say, okay, next week I'll have time, I'm going to sit down. Tomorrow I'm going to come to the shul to work. Today I don't have the time. But today is your regular time. And let's say you have a good excuse. What's a good excuse? Your mother-in-law is coming, and you have to pick her up to the airport, otherwise your wife will be very upset. What do you do, Yoram, if your mother-in-law is coming?
I need to China.
Yeah, you send a limousine with flowers, and you say, I'm sorry I couldn't pick you up, but I sent you a limousine with flowers. Yeah. You don't cancel your shiur, but let's say you have to give up your shiur. Let's say you have to. Sit down and learn one Mishnah. Sit down and learn one halacha. Don't give up that kviut. Don't let go of that special moment. Reshit chokhmah kneh chokhmah. Go ahead and do it. Start now, even though you're not doing that much. Do something. Something is better than nothing. Once you start the wheel moving, then it will pick up. It will pick up steam, as they say. And next week it will be easier and easier and easier. But if you don't do even a little bit, if you don't move even one step, then next week there's no guarantee. There'll be other problems. There'll be other things that will take away your time, and it will never be done. So if you have a good idea, or if you want to start learning something, start even with one chapter, something. Reshit chokhmah kneh chokhmah, do it immediately, acquire something. Acquire meaning buy yourself one halakha, just one. You've bought yourself something. The main thing is to begin. As the rabbis tell us, v'kovetz al yad yarbeh. 1 penny at a time, small change makes big change, they say. So all it is 1 penny. But eventually all those 1 pennies accumulate. All you're doing is learning 1 halakha a day. After 365 days, you've learned 365 halakhot. It all adds up. So you can do a little bit, and it eventually will add up. But begin with something. In all your acquisitions, make sure that you also acquire bina, understanding. A lot of people are very busy acquiring many things in life. New clothing, a new car. Important things to them. Just make sure, Shlomo HaMelech says, that amongst all your acquisitions and assets, you acquire bina as well, understanding, Torah. And the reason for that is as follows. The commentaries explain, just about everything we get in life, it depends on our mazal, how much money we will make, what kind of a parnasah, what kind of a job, what home we're going to buy, end up in. All of that is part of our mazal. We don't really have too much discretion. How much we learn is up to us. That's the bechira chofshi, that's the free will. That is why he tells us, Reshit chokhmah kneh chokhmah v'chol kinyanecha kneh vina. Kneh vina, it's up to you. It's not up to Hashem. Hashem did not decide how much knowledge you will gain, how many mitzvot you will perform. That's up to you. That's where the free will comes in. Everything else, how many children you will have, what kind of children, how much money you will have, what your expenses are going to be, that's not really completely up to us. That's part of the mazal. But how much mitzvot, how much understanding, how much Torah, that's up to us. Next pasuk, Salseleha uteromemeka. Exalt her or elevate her, and she shall promote you. Techabetcha ki techabekena. And she shall bring you to honor when you embrace her. And this pasuk is referring to many who are not capable of learning too much Torah, have a difficult time with learning Torah. And Shlomo HaMelech says, that's okay. Even though you may not have the ability to, lechadesh means to come up with chidushim, with new understandings and interpretations of what the rabbis say in the Gemara, a deeper understanding. Even though you're not able to go into depth in the Torah, but elevate the Torah and embrace her. In other words, don't let go of her. Show her some kavod. Not everybody is able to become a great, knowledgeable chacham. Nevertheless, give her the kavod, the proper kavod to the Torah. When we see the Torah coming out, we stand up. We kiss the Torah. We give her the proper kavod. If we do so, it will give us the proper kavod. And part of that kavod is, as we said earlier, is the kivyoti team, is the setting aside some time to learn Torah. Whether it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, a half an hour, but you never miss it. I've taken upon myself to learn every night before I go to sleep, even for 3 minutes, one Mishnah. I used to learn other things. I started Mishnayot in the past 10 years or so. Even if it's 3:30 in the morning and I'm very tired, I open up that one Mishnah. That one Mishnah at least. Why? Because it could happen that on that day, because I was flying, because I was somewhere, I didn't sit down and learn. In order not to let go one day with not at least one Mishnah, I made that a commitment. And it's sometimes very difficult because your eyes are closing and it's very late and you very much want to get into bed and just go to sleep. No, but you made a commitment, you keep it. And it's one Mishnah. How long does it take one Mishnah? It can take a few minutes. Yes?
You said that learning Torah, you have a Behira Chofshi to learn Torah. So what happens to the boys, the opposite of what you just said, who want to learn Torah all the time? Their Behira Chofshi is, I'm going to be a full-time learner. What happens to the Mizal for Parnasa, Rabbi? It's basically disappeared because they've made a free will choice to learn Torah. So they're not going to have any Parnasa.
No, everybody has Parnasa. Hashem takes care of all His creation, even the little ants, as I said before, even the termites. Any creation that Hashem made in this world has a purpose, and Hashem takes care of them. So if Hashem takes care of all these minor creations, the more so the crown of all creation, which is the human being, and He will provide for him. Now, if he wants to live a life where he is satisfied with very little, that's fine. In other words, if he wants a little bit more, he may have to do a little bit more. In other words, there is some leverage, and there is some leeway and flexibility of what a person wants to do, but nevertheless, Hashem does not abandon him completely. He will provide for him one way or another, either through an allowance from the kollel, or he will make sure that the father-in-law is able to support him, or somehow his parents will have the means to help for a number of years, and eventually, he will do something with himself. His wife will help out. Every situation is different. If one really is eager to study Torah and he's a sincere boy, that's the best son-in-law you can ever, dream of having. And any father who's serious about Torah would be proud if that's what his son wanted to do. However, the rabbis still tell us to, after a number of years, to go out and use all that knowledge that we've gained and share it with others, if that is what you're able to do. So be productive too. Don't just don't keep all that good that you've learned for yourself. Share it with others.
Can I ask something?
Yeah.
About the mazal that you said.
Yeah.
How can we know when the mazal is coming, or maybe we pass the mazal, or what we have to do to bring the mazal? Some of them they want to get married, some of them want to be rich, some of them want to get some things. So there is limit, there is a time. What people have to do? We can say maybe.
Well, most people do not know what kind of a mazal they have, and therefore they have to try their best. But you cannot overdo it. Al titchok tasha'ah, the rabbis tell us, don't push your luck too much. If you see that you're not making it, don't push yourself too hard. Maybe move. Maybe move to another location, but don't push yourself too hard. Don't think that if you work 21 hours a day, or if you work Khalil on Shabbat, that you will be able to change the situation. Don't push yourself too hard. A typical example of one who pushes himself is in Vegas. People who like to gamble, they lose $100. They say, well, maybe the next time. They lose another $100. They're pushing themselves. After 6-7 times they lost, they say, well, maybe I should try more. That's the kind of customers they want in Las Vegas. Yeah, try. I know somebody that just went to gamble a little bit in Palm Springs area, and after 1 or 2 times, he made himself $1,800, and he left. So the guys looked at him, why aren't you continuing? You just made the money, you just left? He says, yes, this is what I came to do. I came to make a little money, and as soon as I did it, I'm not going to fall for your trap, for that ta'ava to make more. But most people don't have that much self-control. It's very tempting. Maybe you can make more. Invest all that you just made and double it. Yeah, but you can also easily lose it. So you have to be very careful. You shouldn't go down gambling at all. But you have to know your limits. Yes?
Well, behind the child, can give him a better mazal than bad parents? I mean, there are good parents, there are bad parents.
Right.
We know that.
Parents have an influence. Definitely parents.
That's what I'm asking.
Parents have an influence psychologically and emotionally on a child, and somewhat too on his direction, somewhat. But ultimately, the parents have no influence on the mazal of the child. If a child has great mazal, look at the mayor of LA, the new mayor of Los Angeles. For those of you who don't know his background, it wasn't too good. It wasn't too good of a background. And if you were to have to predict where this man was going, I don't want to say, but it wasn't too good. And look what happened. Why? His mazal. And rabbis tell us the mazal is like a wheel. Sometimes people are on top, and a couple of years later they're at the very bottom. And I'm sure all of you know people like that, who were once very rich and now they have very little money. Those who were very, very poor, and now they're very, very wealthy. Because the mazal sometimes is like a wheel that it turns around. Some people, but not everybody, some people are rich from the moment they're born until the moment they die. Some people are poor all their entire life. There's different kinds of mazalot. But we said before, Am Yisrael is me'ala mazal, and you might be able to change it, but it's difficult because everybody has a mazal for a certain reason. That's his tikkun. That there's a reason why a person is going through a certain lifestyle, with a certain woman, with a certain husband, with certain children, with a certain parnasah. That's all part of the package deal certain diseases, certain problems that he has to go through.
Part of Mazal is which family you're born into, Rabbi, no?
Well, that already has to do with neshamot, which family you're born into. That's not really mazal. Because neshamot tend to be born close to their roots, to wherever they belong. So anyway, the point in this pasuk of Salselea utromemeka is give the proper kavod to the Torah, show that you care about her, respect her, embrace her, even if you cannot learn too much, support the Torah, set aside some time for Torah, show that you care about it. Imagine somebody coming upstairs and they're going to ask him, one of the first questions is, Kavata litim la Torah, right? Did you set aside time for the Torah? And they're going to tell him, how come every morning, when he says, I didn't have time to learn Torah, how come every morning you sat down and had a cup of coffee and you read the sports section of the LA Times? For that you had time. You had time to read all the gossip in the calendar section? I don't know, because I don't read. The sections in the LA Times. You had time to read all the gossip. You had time to look at all the stocks and the currencies. For that you had time. That means you gave more kavod for them than for the Torah. It's all just an excuse. I told you once, there was once a guy who came to the Rabbi Salanter and asked him, Rabbi, I only have 15 minutes to learn every day. What should I learn? Gemara, Kabbalah, Halacha, Chumash, or Musar? He says, learn Musar. He says, Rabbi, why Musar? Because if you learn Musar, you will realize that you have more than 15 minutes every day. Because the Musar, which is all the good ethics and good advice, will basically point out to him that time is precious and use it wisely. Another idea behind this word, Salselea utromemeka, elevate the Torah, exalt it, and she will give you kavod, is to be na'eh doresh v'na'eh mekayem. You learn, practice what you preach, in other words. Don't just talk about things, but do them. In other words, a lot of people say certain things that they learned, but they don't practice it. Tiheh na'eh doresh v'na'eh mekayem. If you speak about something, if you elevate the Torah, then demonstrate it as well in practice. Next pasuk, Titen leroshcha libyat chen ateret tiferet temageneka. She shall give your head an ornament of grace, a crown of glory shall she bestow on you. Commentaries say that the Torah will grace us be'olam hazeh and in olam haba. That is one of the meanings of this pasuk. That it's something that we benefit from in this world as well as in the world to come. It speaks up for us. But another idea is that we're talking about the crown of Torah. As you know, there's the crown of Kehuna, that only the Kohanim have that crown. There's the crown of Malchut, of royalty, which belongs only to Shevet Yehuda. But the crown of Torah belongs to all of Am Yisrael, to every Jew. Anyone can take it. Anyone can put it on. This crown of Torah is not like a crown of a mortal king. The crown of a mortal king, which has all the precious gems in the world, a lot of people have to protect it. If somebody goes out in the street wearing this crown, imagine the crown is it in England that has all those gems and stones. It's priceless, right? How much protection does it have? People have to protect that crown. This crown of Torah, it will crown you, it will protect you. You don't have to protect it. It will offer you protection. Wherever you go, she will protect you. Rabbis learn from this, wherever you go, she will protect you, that if one is in the middle of the way, going somewhere, and he has no companions to accompany him, he's all by himself, Ya'asok b'Torah. He should learn Torah. Because that's the only thing that will be able to accompany him and protect him. So the Torah protects one wherever he goes. As we said before, it is a form of protection even after you've left the walls of the Bet Midrash. Wherever you go, it will protect you. Next pasuk, Shema b'ni v'kach amarai v'yirbu lecha shenot chayim. Listen to me, my son, and receive my sayings, and the years of your life shall be many. Here he emphasizes something that he said all along before, that one needs to learn and acquire and keep these words, all these words of Musar, with him at all times. The reason for that is because the Yetzer Hara, the temptations come every day in different colors, in different forms. And even though we were able to defeat them yesterday, the Yetzer Hara, we don't know if we will have the strength to defeat them tomorrow. So hold on to these words. Hold on to the Torah at all times. We need this protection, in other words, continuously. You can't say, okay, I'm safe now. No, we're not safe. Every day the Yetzer mitchadesh al Adam, and we don't know if we were going to be able to defend ourselves. So Shema v'nikach amarai, take it with you wherever you go. As we say in the Kriyat Shema, u'lechtecha b'derech, u'shokbecha u'kumecha. You go on vacation. You go on a cruise to Alaska. You're not going to take with you a siddur, talit, tefillin, chumash, shulchan aruch. Take something. No, I'm on vacation. We're never on vacation from Torah. How could we? Especially if the Torah protects us, how could we leave this behind? You can leave behind your passport maybe, but don't leave behind your talit tefillin. And by the way, when talking about talit and tefillin, whenever you go on a flight, don't put your talit and tefillin in a suitcase that's going to be checked in. Take it always with you on board. So how many times has it happened that your luggage didn't come? What are you going to do now if you're stuck in Ouagadougou, in the Ivory Coast there somewhere, in Upper Volta in Africa, in some country where there is no pair of tefillin? What are you going to do now? So always have it with you wherever you go. Next pasuk, b'derech chokhmah horeticha hidrachticha b'magelei yosher. I have taught you in the way of wisdom, I have led you in the paths of rectitude. Here the commentaries explain that Shlomo Melech is saying to teach is important, to give over to a child, to show him the way. But the best teacher is not the teaching, but the dugma yishit. He says, b'derech chokhmah horeticha, I have instructed you in the derech of chokhmah, aval hidrachticha b'ma'agalei yosher. What has really put you in the right ma'agalei, in the right path, is the example. Hidrachticha, I have lived a certain way that you were able to see me and therefore emulate me. Instruction therefore is important, but it's not enough. The best teacher, the most powerful teacher, is the example that a parent sets at home. That is what puts the child bederech. That is what puts him b'maglei yosher. Not just the instruction, but the example. The next pasuk, b'lechtecha lo yetzer tza'adecha v'im tarutz lo tikashel. That you should walk in your way safely and your foot should not stumble. What that means is that if one follows the Torah, fulfills the mitzvot, he can be confident that the Torah will lead him in the right way, that he will not stumble, he will not make mistakes. As we learned in the very beginning of Mishlei, Hashem tells all those who want to clown around and not follow and not trust in the Torah mitzvot, you want to be on your own without my protection? Okay, let's see you. And they will stumble. As the pasuk says, and the sinners will stumble. But those who are righteous and follow the Torah, their feet will take them where they need to go. As we will talk a little bit more about, I think, next week, what that means. That the Torah will be mechaven, will take those who follow the Torah and respect the Torah in the proper path where they need to go, and they will not be misled and they will not stumble. So one can feel secure. One who follows the Torah mitzvot can feel secure that where he's going is where Hashem wants him to go. He doesn't have to hesitate. He doesn't have to feel that insecure or have any doubts about it. This is a very important point that the rabbis tell us that explains how our forefathers were able to keep the mitzvot. There's a midrash that says that Abraham, Yitzhak, Yaakov kept the mitzvot, kept the Torah, at least in spirit. What does that mean? Because the Kabbalah explains, the Chassidut mentions it, that when one elevates himself to a high level of Kedusha, then his body automatically does the right thing. He automatically will do the right thing. His limbs and his organs will automatically do what they need to do. They will not falter. They will not make any mistake. For example, one who's very careful with eating kosher food, Hashem will make sure that he never makes a mistake. By mistake, he puts something non-kosher in his mouth. It's impossible. He's always careful, then Hashem will protect him. One's limbs, one's body will do automatically what is correct and what is right. He will not go or step into a place where he's not supposed to step in. The body moves automatically and does and acts according to the Torah. Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov were so elevated that they did automatically what Hashem would have expected them to do. What was right and correct according to the Torah. Even though they didn't learn the Torah, their bodies did it automatically. They did what was right. Last pasuk, Ahazek b'musar al teref nitzareha ki hi chayecha. Be not afraid of sudden fear. No, that's the next pasuk. The translation is, take fast hold of instruction. Let her not go, keep her, for she is your life. What he's talking about is hold on to musar. We've spoken all along about chokhmah, about wisdom and knowledge. But one cannot just learn wisdom and knowledge without learning musar. Don't let go of musar, because that is what will protect you. That is what will give you strength to overcome the midot. As the Gaon of Vilna explains in this pasuk, that working in a midah can be a job for a lifetime. To break a midah, a certain characteristic, is not easy. But the only way that can be accomplished is with ahazek b'musar al teref. Don't let go of musar. So even though we've spoken about the importance of learning Torah, of acquiring chokhmah, the rabbis remind us that echeretz kadma la Torah. That echeretz, proper behavior, good midot, a good relationship between a Jew and his fellow Jew, is more important than anything else. It comes first. And the only way one can work on that, and one can perfect his relationship and work on his midot, is through a hazek b'musar. Hold on to musar and don't let go of it. So B'ezrat Hashem, we'll continue next week with the rest of the perek.